Hi everyone. Hi everyone, good evening. We'll get started. Thanks everyone for coming. For those of you that don't know me, I am Ashok Kumar. I'm co-president of the Wireless Technology Forum. And my other co-president, Steve Bachman, are you in the room? Good. And we have a very active board that is supporting the two of us. So thank you all once again for coming here this evening and joining us at the Wireless Technology Forum. We have a few announcements and then we'll get going with the program. And please put your smartphones on silent mode. You're welcome to tweet. And first, thank yous to our annual association sponsors, without whom we will not be able to put all these great programs, AT&T, Input, and Ericsson. And we also have an industry advocate partner who provides a lot of educational materials. And if you're on our website, you will see it. And that comes from GSMA. So thanks to all those folks for their annual support. We also have event sponsors for this event. And we have several companies that support us on an event-by-event basis. And thanks to Baker Donaldson, Digital Element, IBM, Windows Phone, and Stone. And if any of you are from any of these companies, please, I know Mark is here from Baker Donaldson, Adriana is here from Digital Element and IBM, and Merrill is here from Windows, and David Sargell from Stone. So thank you very much, all of you, for the event sponsorship. We have a few announcements that we want to make about organizations that we support and work with, we collaborate with. That's been part of our goal in the last year or two. So let me mention about those. And one I did forget that I want to go back to is to say hello, and a quick hello to all those folks on the webcast. This is being webcast globally. And the associations, let me start with actually Mobile Monday. Bob McIntyre and Ed Pimentel have been involved in initiating that. And they meet every Monday at Gordon Research at Atlanta Midtown. And the next one is on July 7th at 7 p.m. The Wireless Forum is also supporting a major event in town, which showcases mobility in the Atlanta area. And that's September 23rd and 24th of Mobility Live, which the prime initiator of that is the Metro Atlanta Chamber of Commerce. We supported it last year, and we plan to support it through this year. And there's various tracks, there's 5 tracks. And when I get to the moderator introduction, I'll mention a little bit about that too. And there's also going to be a hackathon. And you can find more details at the mobilitylive.org website. Another event that the Wireless Forum supports is Southwire, which used to be Digital Atlanta. That's October 6th through the 10th in Atlantic Station. And there's several tracks over a period of time there, so you can check all the details out at southwire.org. Tonight's session topic is opportunities and challenges with mobility at global enterprises. We always do a session related to enterprises. Sometimes later in the year, sometimes a little earlier. But what are the challenges as well as the opportunities that mobility has presented? So it becomes almost like a benchmark each year as we talk to many of these global corporations. And we really appreciate the support that we get from the Home Depot, IHG, UPS, and various other global organizations that are willing to come up to speak to you folks as part of the Wireless Forum event. And tonight's moderator is Hamish Caldwell. Many of you, he's a mobility solutions and business executive. Many of you that have been familiar with Wireless Forum probably have seen Hamish. Hamish has been one of the early supporters of the Wireless Forum, being on the board, and has moderated several sessions. Hamish is a mobile solutions and business executive with over 25 years of leadership experience creating, delivering, and growing high technology product and service businesses in the consumer as well as in the enterprise segments. Currently, Hamish is providing consulting and advisory services in the area of innovation, marketing, and product strategy to startups and emerging businesses. Previously, Hamish has been the Chief Marketing Officer and General Manager of the Enterprise Division of Information Software Technologies. And prior to that, from 2000 till 2013, he was Executive Director of Marketing, Product Management at AT&T Business Solutions and Singular Wireless. Hamish has an MS degree in Computer Science from Jewish Tech and an MS degree in Engineering from UC Berkeley, and his undergraduate Civil Engineering degree from his hometown of Glasgow, UK. And you'll hear more about it now. Hamish, please come forward.
Thank you very much, Ashok. Actually, it just occurs to me, it might not be ever again that you get to say Glasgow, UK, because you all got to watch the vote coming in September. We might get independence in Scotland, so it's the hot political topic of the day over there. So it's a real pleasure to be with you this evening. And what we're going to do is I will introduce our panelists who will come up and join us for a few minutes, and then they'll tell you more about their particular focus areas these days in mobility. I will maybe get kind of the ball rolling with a bit of questions and discussion, and then we'll open up the floor. So, and I think many of you probably are regular attenders, I hope, at WTF, and know that the Q&A that you all participate in is really the high value part of the show. So please be thinking about those questions. Anything's fair game. You'll ask a question. We don't have a mic, so I think it's a small enough room we can hear it, but I'll make sure we repeat the question, and then we'll have the panelists answer. So with that, let me just let you know first, I'll first just cover very briefly our panelists and then ask them to join me here on the podium in a minute. So first, Matt Jones is General Manager of Mobility at Home Depot. Needs no introduction as a brand and as a company, the global reach and the retail experience, and in his role, Matt is responsible for driving the mobile impact on the customer and the business. He'll tell you more about that in a second, but what I wanted to just tell you a little bit about is that he brings to that also past experience from the media world where he was at Gannett USA. So he brings multiple skill sets and consumer-related experiences to his work. So Matt, we really appreciate you joining us tonight. Next, Keith Credendino, the Vice President of Guest Solutions at the Intercontinental Hotel Group. And Guest Solutions is a broad area, as you can imagine, in a franchise-based hotel hospitality industry. There's a wide variety of experiences to take into consideration. So Keith has the broad view of that. Everything, before you even think you're going to go and stay in a hotel, and then you maybe go online, and then you call a call center, and then you go to a hotel, and then you use the internet, and then you go home, and then you use your rewards. Matt owns all of that, and more, I'm sure. And Keith, sorry, my apologies. So Keith owns that whole spectrum of the guest solution and guest experience end to end. So thank you very much, Keith, for being here tonight. And then Rob Russell. Rob is the Director of Digital, Social, and Mobile at UPS, another key leading brand that needs no introduction, and as you know, has a global reach and is more than mobile because they're on the move all the time. So in his role there, he's touching how social and mobile come together, but he brings to that years of experience from the carrier perspective, where Rob was a marketing and product manager in AT&T's business solutions world, so he understands the carrier play very well, and he knows about the mobile marketing opportunities that he helped develop in that environment. Before that, he was involved in areas such as banking and finance from his days at Equifax. He's worked at AOL, and he brings also a mass market consumer perspective from being in the field as a brand manager with consumer packaged goods and beverages in Latin America. Although he's fluent in Portuguese, we've asked him to speak in English tonight. So, but with that, thank you very much, Rob. And so, gentlemen, if I could ask you to please join me here on the stage. And I promise, Keith, I will call you Keith.
That's all right.
Again.
I was thinking I could go play golf if Matt could do all my work for me. I got a full-time job.
Great. So actually, first of what I'd like to do, and maybe we'll start with you, Matt, just because you're first by the podium. Take a second, take a few seconds, tell us, help us all understand more about what you're doing today in your current job, driving mobility inside Home Depot, and we'll go down the line.
Okay. Thanks for that warm introduction, Hamish, and for the crowd being here tonight. So my role at the Home Depot is I'm responsible for basically the consumer side of mobile. So what our customers see via mobile web or via our native applications when they reach out to our brand, whether they're at home, on the go, on a job site, in the store. My responsibilities are for those product lines inside the Home Depot. As Hamish mentioned, prior to Home Depot, I spent about 15 years with Gannett and USA Today up in Northern Virginia, where I was responsible for sort of developing the mobile strategy there, dating back a number of years, and developing iPhone applications, iPad applications, and things like that in the media space. So that's really sort of my experience in mobile, and I'm glad to be a part of the panel tonight. Looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you. Rob.
Hi, I'm Rob Russell, and for UPS, I manage UPS.com worldwide. From a content perspective, that's about 120 countries, about 40 languages, and all sorts of combinations of those, and also social marketing, not the customer service aspect, but the promotional side of it, and also the mobile application, so the native application, the user interface and user experience design. Also kind of falls within my team. So I think that's about it.
Keith.
Great. Well, I'm not sure how much I can add on to your fabulous introduction, but I will say, just to sum it up, it is all the consumer technology. So you think about our consumer websites or our mobile platforms or our mobile websites. Also our CRM technology and our loyalty platform as a whole. In addition to our contact center, or what you consider a service center or a call center, that space. So it's really kind of a 360 view of our consumers, making sure that we're kind of creating that, the key buzzword nowadays, that omni-channel experience, right? So as you flow through the different channels and flow through the life cycle of a journey within our properties, the consumer touch points are a little more seamless for you, and you actually get the experience that you desire.
Great. Thank you. Good. That gives us all a good base set to anticipate, imagine in our own little minds what each of you do day in, day out. And let me just start then on the discussion, thinking here we are, it's June, middle of 2014. I want to kind of set a baseline, where are we at, so that we can then talk in a few minutes about where are you all headed. So if you think back, let's say the last 6 months, not even a year, what's been maybe it's a year, okay, but no more than a year. What have you done in the last year in your business that you've been most excited about from a mobility perspective?
Want to start? Okay, so I'll start. So I would say, over the past year, if I extended it out even maybe 2 years, what we've seen inside Home Depot is, tremendous growth of our digital channel, our digital store, if you will. More and more people are coming to HomeDepot.com, and by extension, Home Depot on a mobile phone, as part of, let's say, a shopping journey, if you will. Some people want to know, hey, what time does the store close? Or where is the nearest store to the location I'm at currently? Do they have the product that I need in stock? What are the reviews for that particular product? Where's that product located in the store? What's on sale at the store? Those are all use cases that I would say going back a number of years ago were sort of fringe use cases that are now becoming more and more mainstream. And I mean, really what that represents is sort of a slow march or adoption of, mobile technologies to, your average consumer. I mean, we all are in this industry, we know this space, we know what the smartphone penetration numbers are. I think behind those penetration numbers, though, is real adoption. And that's what we're seeing is, tremendous growth in these channels. And I'm sure my other, colleagues on the panel are seeing the same thing. And what that represents to me is, an adoption curve that, is slightly trailing, let's say, a penetration curve, but is definitely moving forward and definitely has a lot of momentum behind it.
Great, good. Rob?
Yeah, I think we're seeing a lot of the same thing. I think, our mobile application, we've made it a lot easier to use. It's a lot more intuitive. That's one of the things I'm kind of proud of. It is a complicated business. I think receiving a package can be fairly simple, but there's a lot of detail that we could show that consumers sometimes want to see, and sometimes that just makes things more complicated. So I think, creating a new interface for the native application is something that we've done recently and with great results. We also have a new iPad application that was launched last year, so you can actually watch your package kind of move across the country. So it's a little more interesting engagement with the brand as well. And I think there's a lot of things going on in mobile in terms of just tracking and alerts. We've also improved sort of the push alerts in a variety of ways, whether it's SMS or push notifications from the app itself, or even automated voice phone calls, and consumers can sign up for those things. They can even track their packages on Facebook if they want. So there's a lot of different ways that consumers can sign up to get alerts about their packages. Obviously, people are shopping online a lot more, but the experience is also improving all the time, and we're providing more and more visibility to people. And a lot of people don't even realize they can do these things, so we're also just increasing the awareness, to your point about adoption, right? Some of these solutions have been around for a while, maybe over a year, but consumers have only realized that is there as a benefit maybe in the last 6 or 12 months. So I think those are some of the areas where we're seeing a lot of progress in the last year.
Great, thank you.
So I'll take it at a high level first, and all I'll say is, we created within ISG, we created a win-win scenario, right? So a win for our consumers and a win for ISG, and clearly for our shareholders as well. What I mean by that is we've developed platforms and mobile applications that our consumers are dying for, because especially, so think about the roadside hotels in our business, right? And the Holiday Inns and the Holiday Inn Expresses. There are a lot of consumers that are traveling by car. And the mechanism that they've typically done is not whip out a laptop because they don't have internet connection. They call our contact centers or our call centers. And we've created a win-win because we're giving them a better experience where they can actually find hotels close to where they're going or right on the road, close nearby where they are. We've created a really great win-win scenario for them. And of course, clearly a lower channel booking cost for us that has enabled us to kind of win as well. And overall, we've really started to bake on to that experience. And that experience goes down to when you even get onto the property and the relevant offers that property has to offer to you. So come get a drink at the bar, we have a special, right? We know that you're in our hotel. And even push notifications, maybe a travel alert. Maybe you're going to a country like, recently we had a travel alert in Egypt, for example. And we'll push a notification to you because we know that you're going to Egypt on travel. We want to let you know there's a travel alert. And we're trying to give the tools and the experience to our consumers to make it easier for them to travel with us. It's not just about the reservations, it's about the entire experience as a whole. And that's something I'm really proud of because it not only helps ISG, but I'm sure many of you in this room travel and online travel, you realize you appreciate somebody actually communicating with you and letting you know what's going on. And I say that's really been a big win for us.
Yeah, I would say the general theme for probably the three of us and probably for many of your businesses in the audience is, we are continually making our products better. We're finding ways to give the user capabilities to add more levels of control with things like push notifications and more personalization, geofencing technology. I mean, and what that I think symbolizes to me is just, an overall maturation of products that, look, for four or 5 years ago, the apps that our companies had or the mobile experiences were a little rough around the edges probably. And through a lot of hard work and a lot of sweat equity and a lot of great ideas and a lot of advancements in the overall sort of ecosystem, I think all of our companies are improving our products and probably delivering higher levels of customer satisfaction to our customers, providing greater tool sets and and more functionality, more capability, richer experiences in general. So I think.
And I think it's a great point, Matt. I'm going to say is the better consumer experience you create, the more loyal your customers become, not only to you as a brand, but to the applications that they have on their phone. And by the way, that's another mechanism that we can market to them. And also, if they're opting into things that we can speak to them. So for example, the more they like our apps, the more we can provide a better experience. So for example, if you're at an ISG property, I'm not saying we do this today, but just from a theory point of view is, if you have that application installed, why can't you actually broadcast that you're in our hotel, and so we can actually recognize you, maybe even personalize your experience while you're on the property. And that's something that the customer's going to want, but they have to be loyal to us and want to actually feel like that's something that they want to do.
But they're also going to want to control that experience.
Absolutely.
They're going to want to interact with a brand on their own terms. And it's incumbent on us to build in those levers that allow them to do that. Not all customers are going to want to be recognized when they walk into a lobby or into a Home Depot, but some will. And we've got to have the technology and the systems and the platforms to be able to, number one, recognize, and then number two, be able to offer that level of control to that customer.
So that's a great lead into actually next kind of where I would like you to keep your minds where you're at. But before we go to this next point, let me just mention to our audience online that if you were here in the room, you would have been in the bar earlier. And that's a great thing, because this next question is fueled by the bar, looking to the future. Open up your imaginations. Now you've told us where you're at. Where, you're starting to get into where you want to go. I'm not going to ask you to go out 5 years, because I don't know how far you're planning your technology and budget strategy plans, but however far out you're looking, give us a picture, and let's maybe start picking up where you took us there, Keith. What's the experience going to be like however many years out from now?
So, you think about the overall experience, and today, ISG does a fantastic job of getting you into our property. Whether you book through the website, you book through our contact centers, you book through the mobile applications and the mobile websites, we do a fantastic job of getting you into our properties. We're a franchise organization now. We don't bridge the gap between what you're doing before you get to the property to when you're on the property, and develop and create that consistent experience and continue to connect with you throughout. So where we would like to be is that we are not just getting you onto the property, but we're holding you all the way through your experience in what we call our guest journey. So much what Matt references as kind of their retail journey and their store journey. We want to create a journey. And so I can envision several years out, right? And I'm not giving any secret sauce away. I know our competitors are looking at the same things. Is you've got this concept of the Internet of Things, right? Internet of Things is a thermostat on your wall. Internet of Things is your TV in your room. I mean, thinking about the concept of having a check. I mean, I would take a poll here, but everybody's going to raise their hand. The last time you actually walked into a hotel room and you knew what channel ESPN was on. You don't know, because every hotel is different. Well, how great would it be for us to have an application to actually tell you what channel ESPN's on, and it automatically lets you know that it's your favorite channel, ranks at the top. Or you can control the thermostat before you even get to the property, or even order room service to have it waiting for you. These are the type of things that we want to get to, and it's going to take some time for us to get there, because especially in a franchise organization, because the technology at the properties is very, very unique. So that's just kind of a high level.
Let me ask Rob, in the logistics world, what's your view of the future?
Yeah, the word control has come up a lot in the last couple of minutes. You used it a couple of times, and you used it as well. In our world, My Choice is a product that we have for package recipients, and most people don't realize that you can sign up for this service, and then you can control your package, right? If it's on your way to your house, you can get fairly narrow windows of time when it's going to be delivered, and if you're not going to be home, you can have it rerouted somewhere, either to a UPS store, even your neighbor, different things like that. So that kind of control in our world really enhances the user experience. You can also leave instructions for the driver. The driver, some people realize this very clearly, but some people don't. The UPS driver is an icon out there. People trust UPS drivers with keys to their house, for them to put packages inside and feed the dog. They are absolutely a huge part of the brand, like nothing I've ever seen. And I've worked for brands like Guinness where they tattooed, the brand on your body, right? But UPS, the brand is very centered around the driver. And so we try and leverage a lot of that trust in the application, the trust and the control, being able to control your package. I think in the future, here again, I don't want to, discuss anything that, some of our competitors might want to leverage, but I can see in the future, more visibility for package recipients, right? You'll be able to open your app and see your package coming to you, rolling down the street. There are privacy issues with that. There are security issues, right? The truck can be held up. There's a lot of reasons why that's not in place today, legitimate reasons. But I can see us potentially sorting those out over the next 3 to 5 years.
Good. Anything to add on that?
I'd say it's very difficult in this space to have a crystal ball for 5 years out. Very, very challenging. But what I would say is, a couple of things that, are interesting to me are, obviously proximity and proximity marketing. I think biometric authentication is pretty interesting to me. Some of the recent things that were talked about at WWDC. There's going to be a lot of change that happens over, the next couple of years, both on the hardware and software side. And the thing that's fun about this is really sort of understanding what's going to start to get critical mass. Voice is another thing. A lot of big bets are being made in the voice space by some of the major players on the West Coast, Google and the like. Voice search technology is improving and making quantum leaps all the time. And, just different ways that people use and discover different things that their phone can do to make life easier for them. That's kind of a journey, and it's going to be interesting to see over the next, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years how that changes.
Awesome.
If you don't mind, I'd like to add on to that because it's ironic because you think about how long has the iPhone been out, right, and it revolutionized everything. So you're right, it is very hard to look into the future. And now we're sitting here on the edge of what we're calling wearables, right? Google Glass and Fitbit and all those things that everybody's wearing around their necks and their whatever it may be, right? And all these watches coming out, and iWatches supposedly going to come out here soon. This is just an evolution, and you really don't know what's next and how you actually can tap into that wealth of kind of knowledge and technology that will be available on demand. And so I think that's going to be something that really kind of changes the world, but that's now. This is stuff we know now. What's going to happen a year or two from now?
That's great. I'm going to pick up on that point. Just before I do though, as much as we love that web streaming audience, thank you so much for joining us live online. But another reason you need to be here in the room is you won't get to see Rob Russell's Guinness tattoo after the event the way the rest of us will.
There's no tattoo.
Okay. I thought that was an offer you were making. Okay.
I've seen some, but...
Okay. But the point I was going to pick up on is you're kind of actually, a few things have mentioned. You just said something there, Keith, about the difficulty of looking ahead, and actually Rob was bringing up the privacy issues, and I think Matt was talking about security. What are the biggest challenges that you all need help with in bringing these visions you just really got us all kind of really looking forward to this future? But there's probably barriers you're going to have to overcome. So Matt, what are the biggest challenges you're going to deal with?
So there's a few. I mean, obviously consumer expectations, around native applications, pretty high, right? We all expect apps to be fast, to be seamless, to be cohesive, to be stable, to wow us, to surprise and delight us. Apps, iPhone and Android users that have very, very high expectations in terms of the performance of those particular products that they use. So the expectations of our customers is probably the number one thing that I think about. This is a panel a little bit about enterprise mobility as well, and it would probably be remiss to talk about the challenges of developing products and technology like this that have to interact so closely with enterprise systems. So that's an area that certainly is a tough one sometimes. And then I would say general awareness, we all probably support, build, develop, and have launched products that a lot of our customers really have no clue have the capabilities that we've actually brought to bear. So there's an awareness curve there that needs to, I think, take hold to help explain how some of these products can make consumers' lives easier, accomplish goals and tasks that formerly were harder to do, just through the product that we all carry around in our pocket.
Rob, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I'm proud to say we have no barriers. No, actually, yeah, of course we do. I think in addition to the ones that you named, being such a global international company, first of all, just the languages in the different countries that we deal in, having to build an application, a native app for each country, is a huge benefit to each one of those customer experiences in that country, but it becomes very hard to scale. So building applications and mobile web experiences for each country, in addition to the fact that our products or services vary by country, right? So that is one of our biggest challenges. It creates a lot of complexity for us globally. And then also, transportation, as I mentioned before, it can be kind of a complicated product to purchase, especially if you're creating a shipment as opposed to receiving it. And so, we're always very conscious of trying to keep it simple, but no matter how simple we make it, there's some complexity that's inherent in the process. So we're always trying to balance that as well.
I'll echo everything, right? The global, the customer expectations, I completely agree, and Rob and Matt nailed it. So I'll give you two specific things that are a little different, maybe from a hospitality perspective. One would be the cost of entry. And what I mean by that is with 4,700 hotels worldwide, if we want to, connect to the Internet of Things, if you will, whether it be door locks to open your door with your mobile phone, or change the room temperature, the cost to actually change out that infrastructure is not trivial. And we don't even know what it's going to look like 2 years from now, so which hotel wants to go first? Because once they go first, now they're officially already outdated a year later. That is a big, big challenge for us. The other is the fragmentation of the technology on property. With 4,700 hotels, you can imagine that the technology in the property can vary based on the version numbers, if you will, or the type of technology the vendors use. So getting access to the systems and the information on the property is another challenge for us. But I can't stress enough that you think about this roadside hotel and somewhere in Idaho, for example, that wants to change out all their door locks for 200 rooms because we want to allow people to take their phone and open it. That is a very and a significant investment for that hotel owner, and that is the type of stuff that will really kind of create a great experience, but at the same time create a challenge for us to implement.
Yep. Okay, well let me check in with the audience. Anybody got a question they would like to ask? Well, the gentleman right there.
Have you all considered how the big data can play into your solution for the future vision? Like, because, for instance, operators have tons of data on consumers, location, behavior. Have you considered cooperating with them, getting some pieces of that data, analyze how consumers behave in terms of where they spend time and how they spend time? Therefore, you can develop some sort of service that part of the consumers that you have that is really hot.
If I could take a spin on your question, make sure I'm going to repeat the questions so they can be heard by the online audience. Actually, the spin I want to put on it is really, I want to turn it into a twofold question. How are you integrating mobile-generated user data into a big data play? And how are you currently or hoping to interact, maybe via APIs provided by the carriers, to carrier-provided data to enhance your opportunities in that area? So, Matt.
I can go ahead and start. I would say for us, our focus is on sort of a direct-to-consumer data play, probably more so than on an operator-based sort of data play. And what I mean by that is there are some tangible benefits to creating an account on HomeDepot.com. You can store a credit card, you can store shipping addresses, you can, make the e-commerce, sort of transaction process much less sort of friction, much more frictionless, I should say, by sharing that data and having that stored in an account. That data can also flow down through to, the Home Depot app or the Home Depot mobile website. So you can store items on a list that you created at home and load it up, into your account, and then access that account when you're in the store, for example. There are a variety of different things, I think, that, customers giving us data allows us to, make the experience sort of better.
I want to interrupt you a little bit to ask you to take a spin on this, Matt. That one thing to kind of build on user-provided data, but how about the data analytics that you're monetizing value out of analytics of maybe user behavior, purchasing behavior, an amalgamation and mashup of data?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say for us, the monetization may occur indirectly. The most valuable thing that I do with the customer data that I have, or the analytics data, is I understand what people are using in the app and what they're not using, and the effectiveness or lack of effectiveness of various features and functionality. I also, every day are looking at, commerce statistics and things like that show, how the product is performing from an m-commerce point of view. So the analytics component is super important, whether it includes, the data that customers are providing to us through an account type of sign up, or indirectly, usage data are really critical in sort of the lifeblood of, I'd say, effective product management.
Okay. And we've got a couple of choices. We can go to more questions if it's okay, or if somebody would like on the panel to add more, let's do that.
I'll just add a tad more. I mean, consumer data is clearly the way you need, the information you need to tap into tailor an experience, right? And so whether it's coming from the operators, coming from what people are doing at the property, offline, off mobile, whether it's coming through our other channels, we want to be able to have that information and leverage, the big data kind of capabilities, if you will, to be able to tailor an experience. So if Rob stays at a hotel and he does nothing with mobile, and he keeps ordering additional Coca-Cola to his room because that's what he loves. He doesn't touch anything else in the mini bar except for Coca-Cola. And I'm not sure if you like Coke or Pepsi, but I'll go, since we're in Atlanta, we'll go Coca-Cola. And so if we know now that Rob likes Coca-Cola, well, we may bring that to the mobile experience. The next time he's staying at an IHG property, push a notification, say, hey, we know you're arriving at our property later this afternoon. Would you like to stock your mini fridge with a bunch of Coca-Cola? And that's the type of stuff that we want to get to and the type of personal data you want to experience. But I can imagine everybody in this room has those stories about their business, right? Home Depot, UPS, et cetera, about how they want to use their customer data.
And so, Rob, I'm going to actually ask you to take a different spin on your answer to this, which is I'm hearing some cool things here from Keith and Matt about how the roles each of you is playing in your business functionally. I got to imagine each of you is getting better paid every year because you're getting more and more valuable every year to your business. So could you talk about how the value of the functional activity your responsibility plays in the business is changing over time, driven by data like we've talked about?
Okay, I thought you were going to ask my salary.
It's already on the internet.
All right. So, I mean, our function is certainly growing in importance. I mean, the traffic on UPS.com and all of our mobile channels is growing by leaps and bounds. It's something I don't even necessarily have to make a business case for in many cases. So digital, social, and mobile are all growing very clearly, and the value proposition is becoming more and more clear to even the most hardened skeptics, I think.
But it's still a little fuzzy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
The exact ROI.
Yeah, not to interrupt, but I mean, a key topic that I think we all wrestle with is this idea of attribution, right? Somebody uses one of our apps, spends 10 minutes in it, accomplishes a couple key goals that they were looking to accomplish, but it didn't necessarily lead to an order, it didn't necessarily lead to a room night, it didn't necessarily lead to us selling a lawnmower. There was a critical role that mobile played.
As far as you know,
but
maybe it did.
Well, if it does in the app, I know about it. But if they go into the store and they buy the lawnmower in in a store and they, you know, they helped decide what they wanted to use what to buy by using our app, I still have this sort of linkage on attribution that's a challenge.
Attribution is a huge challenge, absolutely, and especially when we think about social, which overlaps a lot with mobile. You know, likes, you know, I think most people are starting to realize that likes don't really count for that much, or following your brand don't count for that much. They don't necessarily lead to revenue. They do have some value, but it's very hard to measure. And so tracking people across different mediums, right, whether it's UPS.com or other websites that we don't own, or social media, or mobile, and across PC and across devices, has lots of privacy issues. So it does become harder to get that attribution. And we face kind of a unique sort of privacy challenge in our role, because we're kind of a third party, right? We ship products from a shipper to a recipient, right? So we don't necessarily, we don't really sell our services directly to that consumer. So we have a very long history of being extremely private and extremely sensitive with a lot of that data. So we don't mind it as much as people think that we do, because of the privacy issues. That's really paramount for us, because we have to respect the relationship between our client, the e-commerce shipper, and the recipient, not only in terms of what's in the box, but a lot of other metrics. So that's a tough one for us.
Okay, great. Let's have another question. Gentleman in the very back in the middle. Thank you.
My question is simply about how you stay competitive in the changing technology space where everything is becoming less and less expensive, cloud-based and numerous types of third-party services becoming available. And if your competitors have access, particularly at the holiday inn, because you have a business that is replicated by other people, not like Home Depot or UPS used to be. How do you stay competitive with a smaller outfit that have access to nimble players who can put out technologies fast and quick and keep the rate?
So, great question. Given the rapidly declining costs of technology, therefore the increasingly openly competitive environment for your competitors to adopt similar technologies to you. Maybe you could explain how you manage to keep ahead of the game, keep ahead of the competition, and differentiate in such a rapidly declining cost environment. So anybody, Keith, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I'll take that since the gentleman referenced the hospitality organization. So I will say is, you know, first of all, why do people stay at a Crown Plaza such as this, right? Why do people stay at a Holiday Inn? Well, clearly part of its location, right, and its accessibility, but there's also why owners and why consumers gravitate to the brand. And so when we talk about some of the technology that's actually making it cheaper, well, it's our job to actually leverage that technology, but hotels aren't signing up to technology and leveraging technology. They're leveraging up to a brand and a system of doing business, and the infrastructure and the technology and the reservation system and the interface, the distribution channels, like what we call them, to actually help them focus on their consumers at the property. So the hotels themselves, the individual hotels, as you referenced, really are focused on the experience at the property. They want us to be able to help them kind of create an experience of the property. I will say is, we embrace the cheaper solutions. That actually helps us be more nimble and helps us move forward. We don't need to build custom solutions at IHG, to be very clear. If there is a better product or a like product that is maintained, upgraded, hosted in a cheaper manner, I'll be the first to run to it. You know, the reality is though, and I'm going to assume that Home Depot and UPS will say the same thing. The reality is that there isn't a commodity play or a solution in the cloud that can solve all of our needs, especially because we're in unique verticals. We have legacy systems. We're all very kind of mature organizations, if you will, and integrating them with these off-the-shelf products on a one-off basis becomes very difficult. So while it may seem like the price tag is low, the reality is that it's not always low. But if it is, clearly embrace it.
Yeah. a little bit I would add to that is that we don't just see ourselves competing. Obviously, we compete with FedEx and the post office and to some extent DHL in the U.S. and obviously other competitors globally. So we all watch each other very closely because it's a fairly small industry in terms of number of competitors. But I don't think we necessarily think about just competing with those players anymore from a mobile experience. We look at retail, we look at hospitality, we look at airlines. Airlines are pretty similar to our business, and they've got passengers carrying devices doing a lot of things, right? They are pushing the envelope on the mobile experience that's in some ways similar to ours, except that we move boxes, right? There's other industries that we look to that are real leaders. Even personally, I think pizza delivery has some very exciting things coming along, and even Domino's themselves have credited their mobile app with a huge amount of market share gain and revenue growth, and it's become a real advantage, when you're having something delivered to your house. So I think we look to other industries that are not just our direct competitors, because in many cases they are creating great mobile experiences that we need to look to, and our customers are going to start expecting. So Uber, for example, our customers now expect us to have some sort of Uber thing, right? Some sort of Uber interface, right, where they can see all the trucks driving around. But there are different challenges. It's a slightly different business, but the customer expectation is there, created by these other experiences. So we need to decide how quickly we're going to follow up on all of those.
So that we move on. Is that okay with you? Okay, great. David, one of our sponsors at the back, has a question. Thank you.
I had a question about from a consumer standpoint. Maybe I don't know what to think about this, but on a travel level and consumer level, is there any kind of talk about integration from a platform and a user experience standpoint? So I'll give you a quick example. On a Sunday, I hit Costco, I hit Home Depot, I go to Kroger. All have great apps. I don't want to have to go into every single app for each individual company to find out what the deals are. Is there any kind of talk on your level, especially in the travel space as well? I'm loyal to IHG, I'm loyal to Delta, I'm loyal to Hertz. That's exclusively what I use. But is there any kind of platform, whether it's built into like a Siri or a third party, where when I'm traveling, here's my travel information for my hotel, here's my travel information for my flight, here's my deals for my car, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, let me, if I could repeat that back then for the audience online, that while it's all this great stovepipe solutions from many brands, such as the gentleman here tonight, is there any movement within your particular companies, maybe with adjacent co-selling partners, or do you see any other cross-vertical aggregation so that the customer experience is integrated across their many needs, not just the needs within your particular customer experience? And Matt, would you like me to take a
start
shot
on
at
that with the dreaded aggregation question? Right? This should actually be key. I'll take a swag at it. So, I mean, let me pose a question back, I guess. Who would be the right brand to be the Uber aggregator, I guess, in the retail space or the travel space? Or who would we as consumers trust to be the one to pull together all those pieces to clearly give us, that better user experience where it pulls in sort of our multiple touch points? I mean, I think that's kind of one of the challenges fundamentally with that model. Obviously maybe a Facebook is well positioned to do that, or maybe a Google, but I mean, that at the end of the day, I mean, we're all very sort of provincial about our brands and about the customer relationships that we've developed with those brands. I think the way that I probably answer the question is, look, we have an app for our most loyal customers, and those are going to be the customers that take the time to download it, to open it, to use it, to understand, what it does. We've also got a very good mobile web experience that's got a lot more traffic, frankly, than the app. And if you think about it, I think what's happening is more of our customers are saying, hey, I want to have a relationship with Home Depot, but it's going to actually come through Google because I'm going to start there and do a search for a lawnmower, let's say. And I'm going to end up over on Home Depot's site because we've got great paid search or we've got great SEO, what have you. I've got a different class of customers, though, again, that is going to go directly to the app because, hey, every Saturday or every Sunday, it's a ritual for them to go down to the store and spend time at Home Depot. So we think about answering that question probably through both mobile web and app. There are some affiliate networks that we do partner with, but I would say those aren't super deep relationships. And I wouldn't say that there's really probably much movement across the retail category for there to be, let's say, one kind of Uber player, if you will.
This Uber word is getting used a lot, but not literally Uber, but just the macro view, right?
Yeah, I think that question does hit home for us in the hospitality industry quite well. I think, let's take the Home Depot example. I think the Home Depot, Kroger, and I can't remember the other one, was the example of the kind of this aggregate experience. But where do you stop? Is it Home Depot and A&P? It's in Home Depot and Publix? Is it Home Depot and Grand Union? Whatever it may be, right? All these other shopping. You can kind of overwhelm yourself with all the different dimensions because not every Home Depot consumer goes to a Kroger. And so for us, for hospitality, from an aggregator point of view, it actually already exists. I'm going to recommend you don't download that app though. So it really does. Those are our competitors, and I'm not talking.
Yours is better though, Keith. It does more things.
That's
it's
exactly.
more personalized.
And we like to say direct is best, right? You're not going to get loyalty points and et cetera, and you got that best experience that we'll provide. But the aggregator point of view, it does exist. It's not actually best for our customers because we actually have to pay a commission to those aggregators, which, by the way, really drives up the cost of the product, as we all know, and supply and demand economics, et cetera. So that is actually a challenge for us, and a big one, if you will. And it's something that you look at it. It exists. We do have competitors. I'm not going to name them that do this today. We also have consumers or companies like Google or even Apple. For those that aren't aware, they filed for a patent called the iTravel application. And are they going to be an aggregator? And now they're going to aggregate your entire travel on the iPhone device, and that's the only way you can perform travel, right? And you look at these type of things, and it's on the way, but you can do it for segments, but it's really hard across the board.
Well, at the end of the day, there's always going to be things that you guys are uniquely able to do that are going to be richer, more fully functional types of experiences, I would say, right, for your most loyal customers. Right.
Yeah, I think that's the case with us as well. There are aggregation apps out there that use our APIs to track packages, and you can track packages from other carriers as well. But you can't log into your account, and so there's certain things you can't do on those third-party applications that you can't do on our account.
All right, so there's a gentleman back here with a question.
Yeah, I mean, really the first one's here, you gentlemen are speaking as a consumer, but collectively, as your three companies, we're talking hundreds of thousands of employees you guys have, and especially with today's millennials that are coming into the marketplace. So how are you leveraging the enterprise applications that you have today and the mobile devices for them to use?
So let me make sure I understand. Are you really asking how do you mobile enable your workforce?
Correct.
Okay, so let me recast for the audience online a bit more to that question, that given brands such as the companies represented here on the panel have hundreds of thousands of employees, and therefore it's a significant community in itself, many of whom bring their own device. How do you, and maybe, I don't know if it's actually in your areas of responsibilities, but if you can talk to advancements being made within your businesses to mobile enable your workforce.
I mean, I'll real quick for us. I mean, we've got a world-class, sort of enterprise mobility program inside of Home Depot. A very successful deployment of a product called the First Phone. But I think you have to layer in, a bring your own device strategy on top of that. And I think we've, fairly successfully implemented that as well. That helps us get, that broader coverage that we need. The additional challenge is how do you take 300,000 or 400,000 associates, the people that are actually interacting with our customers in the aisle, and how do you give them, basically all the information that they need about the latest things that we've developed or deployed, let's say, in our consumer app, so that they know what the full sort of power of that product has, how that can solve customers' issues in the aisle. That's a continual learning experience that needs to take place, repetitively, on and on and on, because there's a cycle that never stops in terms of innovation and in terms of product development. And so that's something that also needs to get a lot of focus in addition to, let's say, a BYO strategy or an enterprise strategy.
think on the employee side too, I mean, we're very mature in that area, obviously, you know, with thousands and thousands of trucks. In fact, most people don't realize that we kind of pioneered the very first roaming agreements and in some ways kind of forced those to happen across the carriers so that you didn't have to switch phones when you were driving around the country. So UPS has been kind of at the forefront of that for many, many years, and our devices have evolved over time that the drivers carry. So we're, I think, very advanced in that area. One thing to add that it might be a little less intuitive or obvious too is that we hire a lot of part-time handlers and people that move boxes at a lot of different facilities. A lot of that is very seasonal, as you might expect around the holidays, and it's very large. We hire between 50 and 100,000 people in a very short amount of time. And a lot of those are college students and millennials. And a lot of those people actually are now some of our C-level executives, by the way. In our company, that's how some of our C-levels started as box loaders and drivers. And so we are very focused on that audience. And if you go to some of our bigger hubs, you'll be there at 2 o'clock in the morning, and there's music playing, and it's like a college environment. It's high energy. Those people are all mobile. And to recruit those people rapidly in a short amount of time and the kind of numbers that we need, there's a very strong, almost distinct kind of recruiting program and website that's heavily mobilized for that audience. You all in this room probably wouldn't come into contact with that because it's not targeted to you. But that's a very strong mobile experience for that specific audience that you mentioned.
Quick question, what's the training cycle like to get somebody that's brand new up and running and completely conversant in all of the mobile technology you guys have? Like at a driver level, let's say. Is it a week, is it a month? How long until, you know, I'm ready to go out on my own?
Yeah, that's a little outside of my area. So we kind of separate customer-facing technology where I am versus the operational technology. So I probably shouldn't venture a guess on that, but it's a well-honed machine, and we do a tremendous amount of training, mobile and that device. It's a very well-honed machine. I think in many ways we invented the category of those handheld devices and really kind of forced the networks to even stitch themselves together. So I think it's probably about as efficient as it could be, but I couldn't give you a number.
Keith, is there anything more you wanted to add on the topic of
Yeah, similar to Rob, you know, our organization is, you know, there's enterprise mobile technology and there's consumer. However, consumer, because of the high expectations, as Matt pointed out, tends to kind of take the forefront and be on the edge of the curve. So we have some of the knowledge experts. Actually, James Polizzo and the gentleman in the back runs our mobile practice within ISG. And while he doesn't own and take responsibility for the enterprise, he is often looked to for advice or some guidance within the organization. And those type of things are technology and mobile devices that we're bringing to the property. Could be anywhere from giving a house cleaner an application, so room 224 just checked out, just so you know, that way you don't have to come back downstairs, or we don't have to send a walkie-talkie and man somebody else to come get you. Or pulling people out of the front desk, having them walk around and have an interaction with you while they're checking in, you know, maybe using an iPad or some other form of tablet. Those are the type of things that we look at. I don't want to go too far because I don't want to talk about things we're actually looking at, you know, from a competitive point of view. But there's a lot of enablement of the customer experience that will go directly to our employees.
I think we're about maybe up to our last question. So the gentleman over here.
So context is key when we're communicating with our consumers. What are you doing around location context? So what are you doing now, or what are you trying to do, what are your plans around location?
Great. So the question is, you know, in mobility, there's really three things that matter: location, location, location. So what are each of you doing to leverage location-based data today, and how actually dramatically different do you plan to use location in the next 18 months, let's say? So maybe Rob, you're in a very location-based business.
It is, yeah, so it's interesting. When I was at AT&T, I focused on the retail and CPG sector, and yeah, the consumer was moving all over the place, right, with their phone, and so location had a very specific and very important value. With UPS, it's kind of the reverse, you know. the consumer, for the most part, is stationary, right? It's their house. The package is going to that address, and the house isn't moving, right? But the consumer might not be home, so there's still some mobility of the consumer, but the package is what's in motion, right? So with retail and hospitality, the product or the service or the store is not in motion, the consumer is. With us, it's a little bit of the reverse, where the consumer or the destination or the customer is fairly stationary. The package is what's in motion. We cannot tag and make every box smart. I mean, in theory, we can. The technology's there, but at our volumes, it's cost prohibitive. But we are still looking at things to always make the package more visible and more clear all the time. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I mean, we do have a lot of location information with our trucks too. I think we have so much information there that it actually becomes a little too sensitive to reveal it all, because somebody could, bad guys could track a truck and rob it, or do all sorts of things. So yeah, a lot of what we do with location is probably not that apparent to customers.
Well, that's a good lead-in, Keith, that your product doesn't move, but your customer does. So how do you use location?
Fortunately, our product does not move. So, well, cruise line, I guess, would be a hotel, but that's not us. So, I will say that, first of all, I'm tempted to opt out of this because I don't want to disclose some of the things that are kind of in the pipeline. But I will say this: first, you have to balance the creepiness factor, right? You don't want to, and Matt talked about this a little bit earlier, right? You don't want it to be to the point where the consumer doesn't know, and they walk into a property and you're actually greeting them and say, "Thank you, Rob Russell, for being a great and loyal customer," right? And you're gonna really freak them out. And so, one of those things, we gotta balance that. But you can think about the opportunity is endless for us, right? If location is key, theoretically, right, without giving too much away, theoretically, wouldn't it be great to know that you're getting on an airplane, therefore we can ask you if you want to check in, or if you need, or if you just got into the airport shuttle on the way to the hotel, do you need anything to drink when you get there, right? I mean, there's all types of things that we can be doing within, for location-based, right? You're walking up into a hotel and we give you an offer, before you go to your room, have a drink on us, right? Which will lead to many more, we all know, and more revenue for us. So, win-win for the consumer and IHG. So those are the type of things.
Who's opting in for that one?
Yeah, everybody wants to opt in for that location awareness.
And Matt?
So I would say about a year ago, we launched a feature in our app called Store Mode, and that's powered by geofencing around our 2,000 stores that we drew, so that we have a little prompt in the app that says, welcome to Cumberland Home Depot, or welcome to Merchants Walk Home Depot. And what we're trying to do there is we're trying to enable a couple sort of key functionalities that are important to you when you're inside, let's say, the store. So for example, a store map. That's really not interesting to you if you're, sitting at home on the couch and browsing through the app for something. But when you're in the store, we know that one of our #1 use cases is, where is X, right? We've all been there and had that challenge. So what we tried to do with the store mode technology, if you will, is surface some of these sort of key features that are really contextual to the shopping experience when you're in the store. So the local ad, the store map, things like that, rise to the front of the app. And we think that it does a couple things for us. It helps to, better contextualize the visit. It helps to, elevate the visibility of some of these sort of key features that are valuable to you while you're in the aisle. And it gives you, an ability to, to use the app to solve, some of the problems that you might have while you're in the store. So it's worked out very well for us. We're going to continue to delve down that road. Again, I talked a little earlier about proximity marketing and some of the things that are interesting to us there. So, it's definitely one of the key things I think that, anybody that's working in mobility needs to be thinking about is, is location important to my business, and how do I leverage it, to create a better product for our customers. And, that's something that we spend a lot of time thinking about.
I think, just to add on to it, it's amazing how we're in very different verticals and there's so many similarities with our organizations. And, you go back to the context as king, right? How many people walk in this hotel and probably had no idea, unless you guys hold it here every week, no idea that the meeting was here. But how great would it be for us to actually walk by a TV that we know, due to Bluetooth, low energy, iBeacon type of technology, that you just walk by the TV, flash it up and say, just so you know, your meeting is that way, because we know exactly who you are, right? And so there's a lot of, the opportunities are endless, especially at very large properties where, you know, back to the, how many times have I been to Home Depot, right? Every Home Depot layout is, for the most part, different. And just to have that experience is, I can see, very beneficial.
Well, I'm sure you will all agree that I've learned a lot. I hope you have. I would suspect that our panelists will be here afterwards if you'd like to ask some more questions. But please do join me in thanking them for their
Well, thank you, Hamish, and thank you to our prestigious panel. We have a small gift for all of you for taking the time and sharing your thoughts.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And
I
please
just want to
hang
know
on.
why is mine much bigger than Matt's here?
Well, we kind of had it that way, I mean, depending upon who was entertaining, who was more informative.
Which one is which? That's the question.
So we had it designed that way, and you were wondering if you're being monitored and all that stuff about location, data analytics, as well as the verbal, whatever you're saying, was all processed as I was sitting back there, and that's how we came forward. Well, thank you once again to the panel. It's a prestigious panel, and for sharing your views on your respective businesses and the challenges, and being candid with the challenges that you face as well. We do have a few.
Shall we open up the slides?
Yeah,
that'd be
and
great.
we have a few things, a few closing announcements, and if you just bear with us for, and we'll just go through it in a couple of minutes. And thanks once again for all the panelists and Hamish. So please join me in giving one more round of applause. Once again, I do want to thank our annual association sponsors, AT&T, Encode, Ericsson, and our industry advocate partner, GSMA. And tonight's event sponsors, Mark Carlson with Baker Donaldson, Aubriana with Digital Element, and as Digital Element is involved in the location. And I come back to where we did do a location-based session in March. IBM, Merrill with Windows Phone, and David Sargell. I hope you got your question answered with Stone Resource. Our next forum event is being coordinated by co-president Steve Bachman at back of the room there, and it's how investors harness the growth of wireless technologies. It's on August 21st. It's going to be here at the Crown Plaza. We don't know the room, but it's going to be in the Crown Plaza. And we have a very interesting panel that's going to be moderated by Mark Carlson, who's a partner at Baker Donaldson, and he's put all the effort into coordinating that. Is Mark here, Steve? Okay. Anything you want to add to that session? Well, if you don't want to know where the money's flowing within mobile, that's where you want to come and hear. And all of our meetings are included in your membership. So under $100, you get to attend all of our meetings for free. And there's, of course, other opportunities to volunteer and networking. We do go green. We have been green. So we recycle, and please turn in your badges. And thank you very much for all of you being here. Thank you.